for today's meeting. I'm Tamara Solyanik. I'm representing the USAID Leadership in Economic Governance Program. And our objective is to ensure sustainable reforms for the sake of development of SMEs. Today, with our colleagues from Efficient Governance Office, from PRP, from EasyBusiness, we would like to discuss rather painful issue for business. That is the necessity to connect to the electric network, the electric grid, and how big obstacle it is for business development sometimes. The availability of electricity supply, that is connection to electric grid, is an important factor for business development. As of today, this is non-transparent. It is the procedure is rather vague and unpredictable. You cannot predict when this may happen and how much it will cost finally. It is almost impossible to understand this at the beginning. That's why we have brought together many experts in this area to find a solution which will be possible for further implementation. As of today, we observe availability of political will among authorities. And we observe the readiness of CSOs not just to simplify the procedure, not just to make it easier, but to make a real breakthrough in simplification of the connection to electric grids. We are very much interested to get feedback from those who are practitioners in this issue in the regions. We seek their feedback after today's event to understand whether we are working in right direction. With this, I would like to give the floor to Denis Bazilevych, to our moderator, who will represent all the participants of today's discussion. Thank you, Madam Solyanik, for your introductory words. I can see many representatives of the regions here today. Thank you for coming, and we are happy that we are able to use the venue of Ukraine Crisis Media Center. And please keep in mind that we have streamed in 2 languages, in Ukrainian and in English simultaneous translation. So please do not speak very quickly, and we believe that today's roundtable is important discussion from the point of view of the future. All of us understand that finally the level of interest towards the Ukrainian economy will start to grow, and sooner or later the issue about connection to electric grids will become very important. During the last year, Ukraine had made a considerable jump in the doing business in Ukraine from 138 to 137th positions. But that's not the shift with which we are very happy. This partially explains why the easiness of connection to electric grids is important. Currently, we have a draft law in the parliament which is waiting for passage. There is a lot of different approaches to this issue. And we strongly believe that transparency should be ensured via open lobbying. That's why we encourage all stakeholders from the regions who are practitioners, who know how it works in the local level, please join to our discussion. Our objective is to present existing models, to get feedback from the experts in the regions, to continue discussions after event at the online platforms, and to develop good legislatively established model, and when the law will be passed, to implement that new model. Now, I would like to represent our participants, Mr. Oleksiy Orzhel, Head of Energy Section from Better Regulation Delivery Office, Dmytro Boyarchuk, EasyBusiness Ukraine Executive Director, Liubomyr Chorniy, US LEV Program Expert, Marta Kuzmyn, Senior Economist at the Center for Economic Strategy. If you are happy with this format, I would like to give the floor to Oleksiy. Good afternoon. I'm happy with this opportunity to describe those ideas, approaches to the connection which we have, to hear from you your opinion about this, because access to resources is the most important issue for each business. Electric energy, electricity connection in Ukraine still remains very complicated, but this should not prevent us from moving forward. We should do this in order to improve our investment in indices. This was just like an introduction, and now closer to the situation with the preparation of the connection documents. Our office joined this work some 2 months ago when we joined the group led by Mr. Zubko. Also, the Ministry of Economic Development is represented there, and some other participants. Ministry of the Regional Development also has its opinion on this issue. Having heard the positions of all the stakeholders, we developed some suggestions based on the existent points of view. Of course, in Ukraine, we should look for new approaches, but at the same time, we should balance position of the customer with the approach of the existent natural monopolies, because otherwise we won't be able to get positive results. Now, I would like to stop at the most crucial issues. This is just informational slide. Ukraine occupies 137th position in connection to electric grids out of 188 countries, while Ukraine occupies 87th position in doing business rating. This is again the indicators about Ukraine's position in terms of connecting to electric grids. Some time ago, we witnessed resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers and each piece of legislation has to be analyzed against its regulatory impact, and the regulatory impact includes impact on SMEs development. This is very important because SMEs do not have lawyers in their personnel, etc. That's why we calculated how much time and money would be needed for different businesses for connection to electric grid, and we based our calculations based on doing business. So these were up to 40 kilowatts, and the distance to connection is less or equal 300 meters. Having all those basic figures were calculated cost of connection. If you look here, you might find that this is around 67,000 hryvnia are expenses on connection. These are based on the figures of NERC. This is actually cost. While that 60,650 hryvnia, these are just expenses on working time of those people who do this. Then we analyzed what we can optimize in the procedure. So the optimization area is about application of the request on connection, application on connection, and signing the offer. Actually, in this case, the applicant needed to sign necessary documents to become a customer. So we should simplify or optimize the procedure of submitting application and the procedure of signing the contract for electricity supply. We came to a conclusion that around 5,000 hryvnia could be saved. Actually, this could be reached via electronic submission of application, electronic confirmation of acceptance, and also using of model contracts for service supply with the electricity supplier. And thus, it would be possible to conclude such a contract via electronic means on the website of the electricity supplying company. In the result of our discussions with electricity suppliers, we understood that the companies are ready to implement this, and this would save us up to 5,000 hryvnia. The next slide shows how many connections were carried out during 2014 up to mid-15th century. This is statistic which we got from the regulator, and here you see the figure how much we could save, about 285 million hryvnia could be saved. By the way, these 2 years were the period of crisis, and which means that amount of saved money could be even bigger. Now I come to the suggestions which our experts had developed. So our joint position is reflected in the draft document developed on the framework of the Ministry of Regional Development. There is such a notion as electrified territory. And this is the territory where we could connect the customer without any losses in quality. There is 500 meters. That we cut down this distance up to 300 meters, and thus we say that up to 300 meters, this is the range or the distance within which the electricity company should not reject any connection or cause any delays in connections. It is obliged to ensure such connection. If the customers are located beyond the electrified territory, that is, beyond that 300 meters distance from the electricity organization, electricity supplying company, then there should be some standard solutions. Thus, we have standard connection up to 300 meters, which has 3 different amounts of capacity. What else was suggested? The value of the cost of connection in urban area and rural area differ, and that's why we split the 3 capacity stages into rural and urban rates. This detailed specification allows us to ensure bigger correspondence between the rates of connection and the real cost of connection. This would not allow the company to say that, this is not profitable for us to ensure connection to the grid because this is very remote or very long, very complicated connection. What is important that in case the deadline of connection is violated, the connecting company should be fined. The next is that we suggested up to 5 megawatt capacity, which is covered by standard connection. Up to 5 megawatt you can connect without changing or recalculating the capacities allowed by Ukrenergo. So our comprehensive standards include extension to the existing standards in Ukraine. Do we have real standards for standard connection? If you compare practice of those companies working at the local level, for example, Karpaty Oblenergo, for them connection is non-profitable and even generate losses. They say that for them it's not profitable to ensure connection because they lose much. Having more rates for connection, more differentiated rates for connection, we ensure this absence of the gap between real cost of connection and established rates for connection. To some extent, there is some risk of for consumer. They might say, all the consumers pay lower tariff, lower rate, while I pay higher rate. So the issue is that the tariffs for transportation company may be differentiated by the delivery company. Tariffs might be reviewed by the delivery company. The standard connection has advantages. The price of connection is determined by a multiplication of the basic standard connection multiplied by the coefficient of the complexity, which might be the distance from connection, then the location of the connection, urban or rural. The degree of complexity might reflect a plain or a mountain. The amount of capacity, the class of the class of voltage, some commercial factors, whether the land allocation is needed, whether cables should be installed, or they should be remain in the air. That is, we simplified the connection to the networks for capacity range between 5 kilowatt to 160 kilowatt, and thus we come to a ratio 1.5, 1.7, and this clearly shows to the customer which connection is cheaper or more expensive. Using these coefficients and this formula which I explained, there is a bigger space for maneuver. This is a more reliable way of doing this. Non-standard connections. Non-standard connections are the connections where special design adjustments are needed, where Ukrenergo should be involved. Sometimes NERC or Anti-Monopoly Committee should interfere to such a procedure, because at later stages there might be some disputes about abuses of Ukrenergo, which might request higher price for connection because of excessively complicated conditions. The procedure should be maximum transparent. It should be posted at the website of the Commission. And this would allow an applicant to monitor the movement of the applicant's application. When we speak about non-standard standard connection or non-standard connection, this is related to the development of network, and the companies actually are also interested, as well as those customers who wishes to develop the grid. Some 6 Oblenergo, which from January 1st are formulating their tariffs, they also should be involved. So both Oblenergo and customers should be interested in connecting such a big customer.
You have 10 minutes. Good afternoon. As I understand, today we're trying to compare different concepts of development and how we can change the situation. I would like to briefly outline the obstacles in solving of this issue that exists at the moment, and what is the problem actually. First, the problem is that at the legislative level, it is established that every person that wants to invest in construction should invest also in private business of companies that supply electricity. I mean large investment. I exclude standard connection. A standard connection of 160 kilowatt is included in doing business, and we are waiting today on reforming the sphere, and we should approach this issue as a whole. And everything that is above 160 kilowatt, that is main investment. I invest in the company that supply electricity, and I have enough communication with the international investors that want to give money. They say when we know that we should build all the connection and to build power distribution units and then give all this to some businessmen. Yes, and I won't tell you who are these people, but these people are close to power. And they say that they should give all this for free, and this situation is not predictable, but this is established by the state, and the state provides these rules. So you should invest to private business and then in your own project. And this is the main obstacle for investment. Second issue that exists in the market is that we have such a notion as technical conditions. Technical conditions is someone who gets resources, so the monopoly dictates what investment should be made, what you should build for him or for it. And while speaking with those who really build something, they say that you should build power distribution unit, and you should, for example, provide $10 million to some private person. And this principle, this approach, it resulted in the situation that we are below in the list, and we should compliment our Kyivэнерgo that they try to change the situation at the expense of reduction in terms or some procedures. But the terms of procedures, that is not the main case. And for today, we propose to involve and to use a simple scheme. And we say about Georgia a lot today, and there they have the situation that resembles ours. They had to do some reforms in the sphere, and the system, it works. I won't say that I'm speaking about the whole experience, but we studied the experience of European states, and we believe that European experience, it's different because they have other economic conditions, and we have monopolies here. So we want to change the idea is how to change, how to redistribute the supply. There should be a well-established tariff for connection, and it should be a cost of service. And at the moment, and I think Oleksiy will tell you about it in more detail, in those formulas that were mentioned, the distance, conditions, individual conditions, the budget of building, the budget of construction is included. They speak about local conditions, but the calculation will be made out of the budget, starting from the budget of building and the assets that are provided for the company. But we believe that we should pay for the service. If you want to supply bread, for example, then I shouldn't buy a bakery for you. I pay for the product. And the same in other examples. Today, investor pays for everything. That's why simply and effectively it is described that the connection is connected with the capacity, and the 50% is prepay and then payment after connection. And if you break the terms, the last 50% I won't pay. This is a fine. And in principle, everything is really simple. No technical conditions. If you need to connect, you buy a license and you are monopolist in this market. Okay, do it. And if you, secondly, this scheme excludes technical conditions. Technical conditions now are precondition to get the money out of investors. And I'm not sure that at the distance of 300 meters, they say that they have power distribution unit with excess of capacity to provide connection. And the typical answer is we don't have enough capacity. And address those who are in 3 kilometers away. So this is non-standard. And the framework is simple. In this situation is created by technical conditions, and the entrepreneur who is going to the responsible and this principle, this transparent principle, they should involve investors, and they should take some involve banks. Maybe Arab investors should be attracted. They have a lot of funds. But if you say that you want to develop, please do this. It's a typical table. This table were taken from real life, from the system that works. We have an example of the country. We exchanged hryvnias into laris, and if the cost of power distribution unit and the cable, the prices are the same. The construction works cost nearly the same. So if it works in other countries, this economy should work in this state the same. And the only difference here is Oblenergo, they don't have money for this. That's why the system won't work. This is the only reason that they have no money. Sorry, but we believe that investment should come here and people invest. And investment, they don't have boundaries. It doesn't matter for them where to invest. And a person will take simple decisions where to invest. So, in our opinion, this system is very transparent and clear, and it will put everything on their places. And because of this system that exists now at the expense of consumers, the capitalization is raised, the capitalization of supplier companies. And in NERC, they say about zero rate, and in a year, in several times, it rises. It's a good business, and it should be also taken into account. And until 2008, we could invest in electric grid, and then we can have some profit. And every the investors could take them on their on their balance sheet. And now they don't have such a right. We have a monopolist. This law envisages reduction of terms, and there are 277 days, and they are transformed in 160 days. So we have these indicators, and I don't think that is the main problem, but still. And in real costs on formal procedures. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. We have been dealing with this issue for a rather long period of time. We participated in several working groups, and all the expert groups which are not in the conflict of interests with some interested stakeholders, they all agree that there is no big difference in the procedure. There are a bit different points of view on the financial model, which would allow to simplify the procedure. This is a rather expensive thing, and it costs money. I would like to devote my presentation to the current model and to what we suggest, and to describe those models which are discussed in different working groups. I tried to merge them or to bring together and to compare and explain advantages and disadvantages. So what is the current model? This is what could be called the standard. So these are 3 degrees up to 160 kilowatt. Those who fall within, they are called non-standard. The advantages of current model: if you are in the standard margin, then you have very comfortable connection. If you are somehow related to the insiders, then you get cheaper prices. But what are negative things? What are disadvantages? Manipulations with those criteria, standard and not standard connection. Quite often there are extra contract relations. Sometimes Oblenergo says that the expenses of your connection would be, even if you are in standard range, they are higher than the standard connection. Then they create many obstacles and shift you to the non-standard. Then there are abuses when they decide about the capacity, or you have to build a long connection grid, and even if you need lower capacity, etc. So what were outcomes of our work? There are financial models. First is subscribers fee. The second is stimulating prices, standard, non-standard, and universal model. What does it mean? Subscribers fee. We discussed the connection fee. But in case you have the subscribers fee also in place. Another element which Oblenergo argue here that you have to reject from excessive capacities and facilities which you do not use. What are negative? These are additional expenses for constructors. For example, if you have 100 kilowatts, then and even not using it, you will pay for it. On the other hand, if I use energy-saving technologies and decrease the consumption, but I still have to pay for capacities. Also, if I pay for 150 kilowatts, I pay for 150 kilowatts while I pay for I need only 100, and what I shall do with the extra 50 kilowatts? Sell it to somebody. Then stimulating pricing. This means that you are connected based on the amount of investments into network development. This provides intense incentives for development of electricity networks, and this is additional resource for network development. So the standard. There are a lot of discussions. What should be standard and universal model? This is the model which I like most of all. Why it is called the universal model? Because it does not discriminate the consumers. Also, it offers differentiated rates for 1 kilowatt and for 1 kilometer. Quite Oblenergo are not happy with the standard connections, while there is 160 kilowatts, but they are 3 kilometers at a distance of 3 kilometers from connection. But these models will allow transparent rules for pricing, for increasing capacity, for the last mile. Also, it establishes universal rules for all the connections. It does not discriminate. There will be tables, capacity, distance, rural area, urban area, the depth of groundwaters, etc. So all the conditions will be regulated and reflected in the tables. The disadvantages, these are detailed rates which should be calculated in line with the methodology. Here, this model is presented on the picture. it shows how beneficial it is for you. Ideally, the Oblenergo has to pay its share, that is 50-50. And the easiness of application, that is, you need 100 kilowatts, then you multiply it by the standard rate for your region, for the complexity of conditions, whether this is mountains, groundwaters, etc. What are the benefits of this universal model? So this is financial applicability, so to say. Also, this model was active by 2007 and worked rather successfully, and also the absence of discrimination in the model. Unfortunately, this model was substituted with contractual conditions when the standard was introduced. I've described the procedural aspects already, but I again would like to emphasize that everybody agrees that we should conclude contracts in electronic form or in a form of public offer. The land issues. The land issues are related to the detailed plans of territorial development. Here we should address the local authorities when there is detailed territorial plans of local authority, they are interested in investors, then it's easier to speak to Ukrenergo. And also information about empty or available capacities. We need something like Google Maps. And coordination with the Oblenergo. There should be silent consent because if we request that there should be acceptance of the Ukrenergo, this will give rise to corruption. So let's stop at the principles, and Liubomyr will continue. What we are discussing today, it is very closely interrelated. What Oleksiy mentioned, what EasyBusiness offers, we are speaking about price rates. What I mentioned, I described more about non-standard cases. We can speak about principles, which Liubomyr will describe, or we can produce hybrid model. I would offer standard rules up to 50 kilowatts or 100 kilowatts, and for everything which is higher, I would introduce joint rules. Dear colleagues, please allow me to introduce corrections to our discussion. We have Yuri Solovey, an MP, who has to leave us. That's why we would like to invite Mr. Solovey to the microphone. Good afternoon, dear friends. I'm Deputy Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Economic Policy. I've been following very close your discussion today. This issue is very actively debated, and It seems to me that very soon the decision will be made. Probably you know that we have made the first step and passed the law on Ukraine on natural gas market, where we disbandled producers and transporters. Again, we will do the same with electricity grids. The only thing that I would like to make remarks. When a person is building its business and starting its business, it is surprising when it has to surrender part of its business, that is electric grid, surrender it to Ukrenergo free of charge. And now about the capacities. If we might find possible solutions how to indicate the free capacities, how to point out the available capacities, this would resolve the problem of connection. Investors might be able to make decisions based on those data. That is, I believe that the key issue in our discussion, this is the issue on information about availability of free capacities. I believe that in the parliament this will be the most acceptable point of view. On behalf of MPs, I would like to describe that there is one suggestion to cancel the payment for use of grids on the one hand. On the other hand, we should have ready at least several legislative initiatives, optional legislative initiatives. Thank you, Yuri, for your remark and for your feedback, and we hope that our draft law will be supported. Liubomyr, now your comments very briefly. Marta. I will very briefly describe our vision of the problem. It's very good that we have such a representative discussion of possible financial models as to connection. Of course, it's easy to produce any draft law in a chamber. It could be even passed by the parliament, but later it won't be supported and implemented by market participants and Obolenergo. As of today, we have several draft law, and we invite everybody to develop one joint vision of the problem and then reflect it in the draft law. The tariffs on connection should be well balanced. On the one hand, it should be fair from the investor's point of view. I mean, the level of depreciation of our networks. The second is tariffs for consumers. On the other hand, the tariffs should cover expenses of Obolenergo to prevent them from working non-profitably. Unfortunately, the tariffs should be increased. Without increase of tariffs, we won't be able to improve the system with unofficial payments. This means that in the future, Oblenergo will request for higher tariffs. It will be differentiated depending on the ability of investor to pay. Now about our institutional capacity. Any financial model has its own approach to tariff setting, but the tariffs should be calculated by institutions which have trust from both investors and Oblenergo. As of today, we have doubts that NERC is truly independent. Otherwise, the tariffs will be calculated by NERC, and later it has to be verified by international auditing company having trust of all the market stakeholders. The tariffs should be understandable. Of course, connection to grids should include many factors: the distance, the amount of kilowatts, the natural conditions. But on the other hand, if we have too many parameters incorporated to the tariff, there will be a lot of possibilities to manipulate with the tariffs, both at the stage of development and at the stage of application. On the other hand, if there are a lot of if there is no sufficient number of parameters in a tariff, the investors would not have confidence in it. That is, our task is to offer the model which will be understandable and will gain confidence. Investors should have predictability in tariffs and deadlines. We should prevent a situation when investors cannot be sure in connection deadline or in the quality of connection. Of course, there cannot be sticks without carrots, so we should ensure sufficient fees for connection. And one more factor, we have to raise our position in doing business, because many investors look at this rating. On the other hand, doing business doesn't take into account many difficulties existent in Ukraine in the area of connection. So we encourage you to carry out the reform, not just for the sake of improving our position in doing business, but also for our own sake.
And at the end of our joint presentation, I would like to say several words. We tried to speak on the topic of our major problems with connection to the network. And you can find 2 pages in your material. We proposed a model, and then in the middle you will find the main problems identified that are connected with the current program and what model we propose. And USAID LEV Program started this discussion. It was more than 2 weeks ago. We tried to discuss different views on this matter, and we had to find a joint view, and we have other tasks. We should discuss this our opinion with the ministries and with the committees of the Supreme Council that will discuss also this proposal. And in the framework of these discussions, we understood that we have principles, basic principles shared by everyone, but some differences in viewing the financial model. We have a liberal model. They say, let's shift responsibility to the shoulders of energy supplying companies. And from the other side, there are some combined models. And from the side of Obelenерго and their lobbyists in the government, we see that they want, through any mechanism, to shift responsibility to investors and consumers. And I think that there should be some basic principles, and we have two principles. And I think that we shouldn't. We have some a priori principles that are connected with the development of power network, and we should have a joint view on this. Obelenерgo should develop complex and continuous investment programs and to make them available to the public. And investors and local business and different organizations at local level could have possibility to understand in what way the network will develop, what will be new possibilities and opportunities, and what will be distribution opportunities for them. And other principle that is also at the zero level is that the information on available capacities. This information should be accessible to the public, and we contact distribution companies, and they say that they don't have available capacities. And we made some official requests, and it shows that Obelenерgo says that they don't have available capacities. But we all know very well that business that addresses in an informal way, they will provide some capacity that are needed for the construction or for production. At the level is 5 principles, and these principles are the principles of cooperation between suppliers and consumers. The first one is that the cost of connection, we are speaking now not about tariffs, that are of the cost of the electricity. We are speaking about connection. So they should be calculated according to transparent and economically grounded terms. So they shouldn't force everyone to build something for the energy generating company. And also the cost of connection, it should be distributed among the companies that supply and the company that consume, because this is a service. It should be included in the tariff, or it should be some combined tariff that will include both moments, both the cost of capacity and the development of infrastructure and supply. Then the cooperation between consumer and supplying company, it should be official, and there can be some options. First, it is connection according to the public contract, or it can be a connection with a formal application, proper documents to allocate available capacities, and also a source of connection should be provided. Also the terms for provision of the service, we mean connection service. There should be some terms established by law. We should all understand the terms in which connected should be provided. And also should be different in different cases. If we are speaking about standard, these terms should be short. If we are speaking about greater capacities and if some additional construction is needed, so maybe the terms should be longer. But in any case, these terms should be established. And we also propose that responsibility should be established for the violation of these terms, and also maybe for on the information that is provided on these terms and conditions. And these are the basic principles that should be introduced into the legislation, and we should understand that we are speaking not about the law. The law is only the first step that establishes the framework for cooperation, and then we are speaking about the methodology in which all the details should be prescribed on the tariffs of for connection. But first, of course, the law should establish all the rules in order to prevent any wrongdoing, and this is our proposal. Thank you. And maybe Denis will add something. Thank you, Liubomyr. Thank you all speakers for your presentations. And now we start the second part of our discussion, and we will be glad to hear what our experts think about this. So we have a lot of people here, and it's great. And I propose that we all know about the problems, but maybe we should speak about the mechanisms, how to solve these problems. And pay attention, please, that in our materials we have all presentations, so you can work with these materials. And please introduce yourself first, and then provide your comment on the presentations, please. Good afternoon. Перевертаев Andrei, expert of the World Bank at the Ministry of Coal Industry of Ukraine. Thank you for your report. And the first question is, what is the further development of this project? Do you coordinate this scheme or hybrid scheme? And then it will be introduced in some law. And what are the terms for this? Why? Because now the World Bank, the Ministry, the regulator, they develop normative basis with the help of European partners of the new model of electricity market. And this model, it has different cooperation between the partners in the market. And there will be some separately distribution company, and there also a project of code on the electric grids, and the ideas are not reflected here. So they have their life, and we have our life, but maybe we should combine two these processes. And in the same area, Oleksiy, you said that we can take only Georgian experience. But if we are speaking that till 2017 or 2018, there will be new model, and a new institute of suppliers will be, and then we can apply this mechanisms of European that is used by European countries. Maybe it will impose some restrictions on the distribution companies. Can you comment on that? Oleksiy. our model. We introduced it to the ministries. We discussed this question in the committee, and they work on the new model of the market. But now we discuss services. This is service, connection service. And we have an article and put it in the code. It doesn't touch the model of the market and the mechanisms of competition in the market. On the level of the transportation, this is a text reprinted in the code. And we don't have it now, but we spoke about it previously. We speak about the service, and that is, we can reprint what is called, and I would like to mention that we should attract capital investment. It can be done in the framework of well-established tariffs, and we have some discussions on the rates on the capital that exist, that at 5% and 14% or 15% for new funds. And it's difficult to bring capital in this condition. And in the framework of tariff formation that is introduced, it is difficult to develop networks. And the task was to make and establish mechanisms that will really work. And this we should provide capacity and establish and the work in this sphere, and then we should introduce changes into legislation. And there are some attempts by Ministry of Regional Development to create a comfortable system that is friendly to the current system. We are shocked. We are so pro-European, but people don't want to go to come here. But we should make real changes, and we can do some cosmetic changes, but the system is lacking many things basically, and everything is everyone. In Obelengergo, they say, we don't want to change the situation. We are satisfied with the current situation, they say. And we see, for example, our police force. We saw that there was some stress in the system. We should make correct changes. We can, for example, we can establish terms. For example, let's do it in a year, so or half a year, and people will start to change some tariffs. They say tariffs are bad. Of course, there are some experiments, but everyone is in a comfortable position there. So we should change the situation. And you say that in 2018 it will start working, but it is the case of removing the problem, not solving it. We thank Oleksiy for his presentation. And then we will watch our results on video. Okay, next question. You are next. Anatoly Ivanovich Semets, entrepreneur. I want to comment on the deregulation and of the market. We should speak not about electrical network, but also gas supply, because these matters are identical. And I want to say that you should also join to these markets. All that was said here is very true, but I would like to pay your attention that the provision provided by the Cabinet of Ministers, it had to be implemented, but only 53% of this matter is solved by this provision. Tell me, please, why in the USSR times there were no such problems? The answer is simple, because there were no such owners like the owners of Obelenерgo. The owner monopolizes us. He dictates his condition, and he doesn't want to change, doesn't want to develop. But let's look at his obligations, what he promised when he bought these Obelenерgo. And we understand that he is in comfortable conditions. He wants, at our expense, to develop maybe these networks. And why he is not put in the condition, but not until 2018, but he should think now how to act, how to develop these networks. For example, I constructed and created a store, and then I sold it and want to get a rent. And then Kyivenergo wants that we, entrepreneurs, that we put our money in their networks, and then we should pay VAT tax to the state. This is like a church. Let's build a church for people, but then they get money for the church, for the priests. The same situation. And the proposal. So there's a provision 357, and we should cancel prepayment for the for electricity, and also payment. You know that people in the village pay 1,400 hryvnias for connection, and they need 5 kilowatt plus work plus project, and then multiplied by materials. But because of all those who hold licenses, they should do this. I will present you with the materials I have. You can provide us with the materials, and we are going to discuss them later. But we are trying to develop a model, and of course provisions and laws, they should be implemented correctly. Thank you, Viktor Khmelnytsky. Editor-in-chief of Работодатель newspaper. And I have a feeling that we are speaking about the process. But we speak about the process, but not the real case. We are speaking in all presentations. We are speaking about investors, and these are investors from abroad or powerful investments from our own country. And we forget about small and medium-sized business. And these are more than 2 million people of Ukraine. And here we didn't consider this question. And as an option, I would divide 3 directions. First, capitalism philosophy, then state and social philosophy, and the third one is liberal philosophy. What I mean is, we say that we should include investment in tariffs, and in this way this is a subjective indicator. Why? Because investments are not identified, and among the consumers, it should be calculated on an individual basis. I don't think that it is necessary. And what is the solution? We maybe should say that this crediting of electricity supply company to provide these constitutional obligations, because yesterday it was the property of the state, and we know the conditions in which the privatization of power supply companies was conducted. That's why the state should be a regulator in this matter in order to establish clear conditions between consumer and power supplying company. What I say when I say liberal, let me tell you about this. I'm really brief today. Liberal means we are reformers. Why do we have only to solve these problems in an administrative way? We should speak about reforms. I am, for example, an investor of a power supplying company, and maybe I should be provided with some shares of this company, and then I will be interested in the development of this company. Thank you very much. Dmytro Vladimir, Anti-Corruption Association from Chorniy. I would like to remind everyone who is present here, banking, transport, energy, this is all infrastructure. These are all elements of infrastructure, and they exist and they are important in order to create production in the state. And we should keep in mind, or always it in mind. And in the energy sphere, we should change energy sphere according to the needs of production units. And also we provided some anti-corruption expertises and that regulate the market of energy consumption. And we found out that there are corruption factors, one of them, that should be removed, but they all should be removed. But there were some free investment and energy consumption legislation, and also some changes into legislation should be made only after the conduct of public and anti-corruption examination, because corruption is put in the legislation that was introduced there starting from 2007. These changes started. So one of the proposals is to introduce licensing and limited only to this generation, only for this type of activity. Then construction and the other for the supply of energy. So that's why we can reach market conditions. And many issues will be lifted if we adopt the law on the selling of monopoly enterprises at the request of territorial communities. Territorial communities should have the right to demand selling of some enterprises, and this changes the relationship with the between community and the owners of these companies. And there are positive examples when communities, they they make everything possible to change the head of fiscal service, and then they also established some limitations and control over Oblenergo. So it's very important to, of course, we should speak about the models. Vladimir Vorobey, we are concerned with the industrial park, and last year we worked on documentation, and we have a proposal, we have a contribution. The first, Oblenergo don't respond to requests to for connection to electric grid, and the community asks to provide technical conditions, and there's no fines. They just don't provide any answers, and we as project managers of this project, we don't have any levers of influence, and we should envisage state register of requests for connection, and this should be open and transparent, and according to which the fines can be established, and they should be really severe, and that should be demanded by the regulator and should be done electronically, and there should be a single state registry, and we can leave Oblenergo, and if they don't provide answers to requests, they should be fined. And this is a good mechanism how to speed up reforms in the sphere. And another issue is to take into account another entity of as industrial park management. We are speaking about enterprises, but there are some managing companies, and they are envisaged by the law on industrial parks, and we work with the ministry, and the managing company, the investor comes, and the company can connect to water supply, to energy supply, and I can't say what the way will be, but it should be somehow connected with the law of Ukraine on technical parks. Managing company can say we will connect everything, and it costs zero because it is introduced in the tariffs, and this is our policy. And if it is that they should, according to the number of kilometers, pay for this, what is competition here? And the managing company will go along this way. So I don't have the decision to this problem, but we are ready to cooperate with you in this matter. Do we accept this? Right, we accept it for further discussion. Chernigov, good afternoon, everyone. I'm head of entrepreneur group in Chernigivshina, and we have big experience. We work in the sphere of energy reforms, and we can speak about it a lot, but what are the results? We should divide these processes, what we can do by current legislation, and what should we change. First, anti-monopoly legislation doesn't work in the relation of monopolism. And all they say that poor Oblenergo have their operating costs that exceed their limits. It's not true. So 36 kopecks was the tariff. Now now it's 1 hryvnia 90, and now Oblenergo, as monopolist, they do not provide opportunities for the business. They are not interested in connection of new capacities. All their units, they are fully they say that they are at their full capacity, but they have capacity now only of 15% from starting from 1999. There was a decrease in consumption in Chernigivska Oblast was for two times, and then there was a decrease to 10% or 15%. Let's analyze these things. I am a manager in a small enterprise. We consume 50 kilowatt, and we are exporters. And because anti-monopoly law doesn't work, this situation. Grigorishin, Kolomoisky, Akhmetov, they don't even believe that we have the ownership of our own units. They say that they do not observe the laws that are established. They do not observe the rights at all. And the anti-monopoly committee doesn't find everyone. And I will give you an example of Chernihiv Obelenерgo. And NERC, they carried out an audit and they found many violations. They didn't punish them and they didn't say what they should fix. And also corruption scheme in the state that is in different spheres create the situation that simple entrepreneur can't fight this scheme. And these contracts, I mean, Grigorishin company, who is here in Kiev in Hospitalna Street, he provides some services through 6 Obelenерgo owned by Grigorishin, paid through the companies. The issue is not in the legislative sphere. We shouldn't confuse ourselves, and we should maybe through your program or other programs, we should observe the rules that exist now. Comment on this. We should be more strict with them. If there's one operator and one controller, so evolutionary, they just create a hybrid. We have a regulator and anti-monopoly. We have a separate body, and we say that it doesn't provide answers to requests. And the situation with the connection, it should be the first step. And the second step should be to allow independent operators to develop networks and to establish tariffs and to create competition in the market. And now, according to the law, the operators are comfortable, they are monopolists, they are alone, and this is prescribed by law. And also in this condition, there won't be any reform. And these are further steps, but the first step is these are the changes of the sphere of in the sphere of connections to the network. Chernenko Alexander, Association of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast Business. I worked also as a first deputy of mayor, and we as businessmen, we connected small businesses to Obelenерgo, and also for German money. We also we are in the same position, And now we understand that Obelenерго is 100% corrupt by oligarchs, and we shouldn't consult with them what we should do in the system of electric supply and connection. I am fully convinced, and I agree with Sergei, not only Georgian model, only there shouldn't be any cost. There should be only costs for supply of the energy. There should be said in the law that who sell the energy can only get money for selling energy, and everything else should be done voluntarily. And the last issue is there should be a market. There shouldn't be any monopolies in the sector. If Obelenерgo, if they are not profitable, they should leave. There should be other investors. They should take nationalized Obelenерgo, and then they will sell electric energy. And there shouldn't be any advice from other bodies. We are, as a community, we are not satisfied with the answers of bodies of power. And I end my speech. I want to say that we should have feedback. I want to see that what I say to you, I want to say that a people's deputy should speak about it. What I wanted to say, they spoke about new model of energy market, and they say about selling of electric energy and supply of energy. These will be two different businesses. Starting from 2017, 2015, or 2018, there should be some competition in the market, and I can sell electricity and internet, for example, and there will be a real business that will service the networks. And if you took the tariffs for electricity, you should understand that this is done by Obelenерgo, and then these will be other people then. Sumo Prokopchuk Oleksiy. Till this time I was an expert in the sphere, and I know that consumers connect, and they say there's no information as to capacities. This information exists, and it is shown 2 times a year, and Obelenерgo, they should place this information on their sites, and it only matters how they operate this information. They have resources in order to work on these issues, and they address to Obelenерgo. These are construction companies that have resources for this. If this is small and medium-sized business, that they don't have time for this, and time is money, and in a year they will connect, and they have some problems, and then we discuss model. And I think that combined the hybrid model, there should be some methodology and a simplified information on capacity and distance. And this information should be provided to the public, and methodology will explain all this. And in Georgia, there's a simple methodology, and it is used, but the public don't see it. And they say 11 3,000. This is all done through methodology, and many people will say that this is not calculated properly. Additionally, it was said that the period 2 times a year, once a year, it should be some corrections. Everything is done according to methodology, and in my opinion, the most effective is a hybrid system, and it should be worked out. And also, I'm not from Oblenerga, but I worked with the electric lines, and without technical grounds and the technical calculations are impossible to make. And that's why the roundtable should be conducted, including all opinions, but there are not only financial issues, but also technical issues, and they should be considered. If you have other opinion, it's okay, but if you say about the distance of 300, if Oblenerga calculated with the ruler on the map, and how can you say this if they establish capacity and you say they don't have information? They take this, they measure this the capacity in the time period, and then they provide this technical information, and there are some people who signed these documents, but they estimate this information only twice a year. And for example, there is a unit and power and a factory or a plant in the city, so some capacity is forecast for this plant. And then, for example, there's a see, we have comments. We now start a discussion. What you say is very important. The methodology, the methods. I try to present them. There's a table of capacity, the period of connection, and also cost of connection. And as of today, in the framework of other state, the connection of capacity of 1.5 or 2 megawatt are carried out during 90 days, and costs 600, more than 600,000 hryvnias, and these are factual data, and it is implemented, and the scheme works. And there are some proposals to indicate general rules in the draft law, and then establishing of tariffs should be done by the Energy Commission. But it means that you wasted your time at the level of Energy Commission. Any idea that is really good will be nullified. And that's why it's very important to impose tariffs with the indexation, and it should be written out in the law, because everything will be distorted at the level of implementation. And as to the openness of information, this information on the capacity and on plans of development of networks, if a simple person, he even doesn't know where to look to. It's not in the legal framework. There should be a project how to simplify this information. Google Maps, when you go to the site of Oblenerga, and intuitively and visually you see where to connect and where it will develop. This is my answer. And the next question, please. Vitaly Grosevich, Executive Director of Construction Company, and I want to thank our speakers for presentation of changes that are necessary to make in order to increase the indication of doing business and change the system that exists in the course of a connection to the networks, but I would like to thank those people who answer and ask questions, because any reform is first of all the understanding of the subject, the logic of the processes and the forecasts of the consequences. And the experts that are here in the hall, they raise issues connected with the connection to the networks that are very important for our system now. But I would like to say that Vladimir Ilyich Lenin created energy, and this was energy sector, and these were production facilities that are now in Ukraine, and that created oligopoly, and it creates some monopoly, and the production units are exhausted, and everything is done to increase profits. And connection that exists now, it looks like a service, but it's a service because it includes some processes how to connect, but it also has an investment component, because these production facilities, they are created and then they are given to the monopolists that are present in this market. And where is the interest of investors and communities? So there's no answer. And if we speak about the problem that is based on the fact that a monopoly exists, then in the concept there should be some steps how to demonopolize. And the experts say clearly we shouldn't break the system. It will lead to corrupt ways that will be used, and they will demand funds that investors should provide. And if we create conditions to attract communities and to take into account the interests of people that were voiced here in this hall, and to give those networks to the state at the level of local government in order to create conditions to compensate tariffs, and also to provide these networks to a number of investors who would take part in the tenders, and there would be conditions for energy that will create infrastructure, that create the processes that were voiced in this hall. And you said that in the legislative sphere, there's a publication of information, but between the word information and the word data, there's a great difference. Technical workers, technical specialists, if they have data, they will use it. But they don't have such data. They have only information that all the capacities are completed to the full. And we have lobby, and people try to get some positions for themselves. And Sergei said rightly that those organs that control monopolists, these positions are taken by those people who lobby the interests of these monopolists. And we should do a reform to change the system, because any additional and small cosmetic reform, there would be some additional payments on new ways to get the money, but we will remain at the same point. That's why we believe that we should join our effort and to struggle to demonopolize this area, to get new people in the market, and to create situations that communities are included in these processes. Maybe we will have some conclusions now, but Tamara Nikolaevna would like to comment in this context. Dear colleagues, I won't take much time in this final part, especially I know that here are a lot of people who want to comment. I want to focus our discussion on the problems of small and medium-sized businesses. The problem of connection to electric grid. This is a complex program, and the comments from the side of the builders and from the side of those who work in energy market, these are all very important components, but we should focus on that we should do everything possible in order that small and medium-sized business got comfortable conditions for its existence and development. And further, we should discuss other problems, what we should do with energy market. And then those who work on models, they should see what it is done for, not only for the light in our flats, but also in order to develop small and medium-sized business and in order to establish improvements in the sphere. And if you have proposals, and I pay your attention, please, on the final presentation of Liubomyr on the principles. Do you agree, you disagree with the principles? Maybe it can be done at the end of our discussion. Thank you. Thank you, Anatolia Nikolaevna. Do you have some ideas on this? Speaking about the principles and the problems of small and medium-sized business connected with this. Sergey Karpilov, business newspaper. Not long time ago, I prepared materials on this problem, speaking about connection to power grids. Monopolies, they force out of the market the companies that connect gas and electricity to consumers. Or they even forced them out of the market already. And small business, it should address not only Nobelergo, Kyivmenergo, Oblgaz, but it should be able to address to the company that is intermediary maybe, but it is connected with the connection of the company to the energy supply. And maybe it will be easy for the small business. Thank you very much. No other comments. Thank you, Chernigov. Head of entrepreneur organization from Chernigov. We said about some enterprises are connected now, and what should entrepreneurs do and enterprises do? Where, for example, the owners are changed. For example, there's a different owner, and they say that if you change the owner, you should reconnect. So if there was a connection, you can decide this matter through the court, but why do the owner allow this corruptive actions, and why no one reacts on this? Dear colleagues, our data is complete, and maybe I will give a few minutes to our speakers in order to make some conclusions. Of course, we didn't expect that we will bring out some hybrid model. Of course, we have many speakers and many models, but we have joint ideas, and we should include all the components that are not discussed completely here. And I think Sergey will start. Maybe some conclusions and what will be the format of our cooperation further on. What I heard today, the position is mainly the same among those who provide connection, and the procedural things that are ground for the violations, and it should be done evolutionary. We should start this important way, and I agree completely with Oleksiy, who left that really, there should be some transitional period, but this transitional period shouldn't be based on some half-tones of distorted legislation that is now. If it's not correct, it's not correct. You can't rectify it. And you should make a revolutionary step. We should change the system. We should do reform. And we should provide time for this energy system in order to get accustomed to new conditions. So that is the way I see. Thank you. We here gathered to speak about the model, but in the process of discussion, I thought that we are some sort of fans of this Obelergo. But this is a difficult way to get people together who don't have conflict of interests. And we took part in many working groups on this issue, and for the year we have been doing this. And the process is cyclic. And at the final stage, when everyone agrees how it should be, how should the reform goes, and the final document and the resolutions of draft law, there are some things that reflect someone's invisible hand, and we saw that we should get together those people who want to solve this issue, not to earn something or to own something, but to get those people who want to solve this issue in order to develop, to overcome these obstacles. Many opinions were interesting, and I think that they were voiced here because this is a complex, multidisciplinary issue that is connected to many things. And for me, about your idea that we should establish methodology, we are speaking about the model because the process is cyclic, and we couldn't agree on what will be the financial ground for this, who, where, then, and according to which principle will act. And we discussed these issues, and every time we see the step ahead, and now here I believe that after this meeting we should get together once more and to find some common grounds. There are some difficult things to discuss, but I think that starting from this core that we established, we should solve the issues on the contracts that you voiced, and this is the conclusion of contracts. And you know that if you as they say, if you stayed in the queue in Kiev-Energo, then you won't laugh in the circus, as they say. And if there are 2 Ukrainians, there are 3 hetmans. And if we can find some common grounds, we can create a joint front. I believe that this discussion is the start. We not only discussed the main ideas as to financial models that are discussed, but we heard the ideas of real businessmen, those who work in the sphere, and we should incorporate the ideas. And I said in my report, we should bring up some draft law and financial model, and in this way my proposal is to create do open steps and to discuss draft laws in order that all those who are present in this hall and the experts provide their comments online during such discussions like this. I would like to return to the issue that we are considering our initiatives and the focus on small and medium-sized business, because for small business, as we speak, these issues are the most acute, because medium-sized business, they have more resources and their own lawyers to deal with these issues. And today, several issues, very important, they were raised, and we spoke about procedural issues, but we didn't notice that, for example, in regulatory service last week they said about laces in many cases, and they said about some things to prevent some these laces, these faults, about the contracts, about the also the proposal on electronic register of requests for connection to Obelenерго, and I noted all this, and I think that these things that are really important for the small business. And the next thing that I wanted to pay your attention to in my report is that why do we want to voice these principles here? Of course, this is the promotion of the changes in the legislation, and this process is there are lobbyists of different interests, and these are not lobbyists of small and medium-sized business. And there's also political will. They want to change the situation for the better, and we should use this moment and use this political will, and also to monitor the situation in order to control the situation, and those associations that represent the interests of medium and small-sized business. It's very important that you monitor this process, what is introduced to the Supreme Council and what is discussed there, and in what wording these draft laws will be adopted. And for us, we have some markers of the indicators of our success, and if these markers are observed, so we can hope for the better. But if principles are not observed, then there will be some harm, and that's why we shouldn't relax. We should do everything correctly. Thank you. 1 minute, please. Sergei Samonenko, it happens so that in Chernigov we discuss all negative issues connected with the energy networks. We have problems with the owners, with the connections to energy supply. We have difficulties with the head of Obelenерgo, and it's a long story, and we made some sort of uprising there. And we have some reaction to these actions, and there's a resolution by Yatsenyuk, and they want to conduct on the basis of Chernigov Obl Administratsy, and this is the high level of the Cabinet of Ministers. There will be some MPs and some specialists of high level, and the only reason is that they say 2012 championship will be, but no one knows when. So this meeting was they postponed this meeting. It will be held, but I don't know about the date. What I wanted to say, I want to invite everyone who is present here, all those experts from oblasts of Ukraine, the specialists. I would like them to support us. And if we get victory in Chernigov, it will be a precedent. Don't leave us alone in our initiative. Please address our administration to Secretariat. There will be information on the date of this meeting. Support us, please. That will be good for you too. Thank you very much. can I have a voice a proposal to colleagues to highlight this proposal and to thank Chernigov who started this discussion, and all those people in the regions and the towns, that they should pay attention to these things because in Obelenерgo they don't ask for connection with the small. And in small and medium-sized business, we pay money to them, and if you won't stay in those queues, because for example, Kolomoisky, you know that he can work in private bank, and the system of relationship between the bank and the consumer, there's a good situation, and in Obelenерgo the situation will be good. There will be e-cabinets and there won't be any queues. And we shouldn't stay in those queues. All business associations support this idea. Thank you. Our time is over, and we are happy that this discussion took place, and that we show to the public what we were able to do, and we are happy that we have an online broadcast. People from small and medium-sized business, that they face this problem and they are ready to take part in this discussion. We propose also a format for discussion in order to have a feedback and to have some constructive matters to develop a model that will be active and effective. And now there's a number of laws that are not observed at the level of cabinet of ministers, but everything depends on us. We should monitor and control and influence, and we should establish mechanism of this influence in order that the power heard us, and those matters and those activities that are carried out, they should be supported in the Verkhovna Rada and from the side of the community. Thank you very much for taking part in this discussion. We have your contacts, and we together will be able to cooperate further. Thank you very much, our speakers, and our meeting was organized with the support of USAID and the LEV support. Thank you very much for your attention.